All right. Okay. So we are doing this call today, right? 29 March. We're going to talk about a few things, but before that, that's the disclaimer, the usual disclaimer. This is for educational purposes only, not financial advice. Please seek your financial consultant, financial advisor if you're going to do any financial decisions that you're not familiar with. And in any case, let's continue. We're going to talk about what and why of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and then we'll talk about a little bit about Web3 communities and why they're so valuable. And then we're going to talk about the new direction for the track record community. To start off, the what and whys of NFTs. It's the rage now. In the last year, I believe. Yes, last year. Now in 2022, right? Yes, last year, NFTs became the talk of the crypto communities. It's been around for some time, but last year it started to become talked about more. And we've probably seen in the news about all various NFTs being sold for huge amounts of money, which most people think is crazy or don't understand. But to ease us into the discussion, what exactly is an NFT, right? So we need to understand the concept of fungible and non-fungible. Fungible is essentially means that it is indistinguishable from one another. So if you have Bitcoin, your Bitcoin and my Bitcoin are the same, right? We of course it's a different Bitcoin, but essentially when somebody is trying to buy Bitcoin, they don't really care is your Bitcoin or my Bitcoin, right? There's no way to distinguish between the pricing of each Bitcoin. They're all the same. Okay, of course there will be some where some stolen Bitcoins where it's marked on the block, it's marked at exchanges and cannot be transacted, but that's just not about fungibility. It's about the identification of coins on the blockchain. So cash is fungible. Stocks, shares, your Apple shares and my Apple shares, they are the same things. No one cares whether the share is whatever the ID the share is. So because of that, there's a lot more liquidity for fungible tokens or fungible stock certificates. By definition, there's a lot of liquidity. It's a combined liquidity of the whole pool, right? Whole pool of assets. So it's much easier to transact. But non-fungible is totally opposite of that. We have unique identifiers for the things that we are looking at, right? Like for example, houses is not exactly fungible, right? It is a house is very separate from the house next to it. Art pieces, they are not fungible, right? Even though you can have different prints, but they are different edition. They're different there's different IDs to it. And for the non-fungible tokens, it's just a crypto token. A crypto it's on the blockchain, but because there's unique identifiers, each and every one within the collection is different. And because of that, of course, they give it a very generic name of non-fungible tokens. But the tokens can be anything. We'll talk about that in a bit. But the tokens are made up of unique identifiers, which are the token ID, and the metadata, which essentially is the what the token is about, right? It can be JPEG, it can be a music file. So the token ID essentially just is a pointer on the blockchain that points towards the metadata. So that metadata is the things that we see, but the representation of it in the real world. And then the token ID is the pointer. Okay, so there are different types of metadata, but the token if it's on the same chain, it is based on the same standards, but is a unique identifier, right? So you can by looking at the address, you are looking at the token, say token 1000, token 1001. So it identifies each and every token within the collection, right? So some of these collections have 10,000 tokens, and some have even less, or some has more. But that essentially is what you're buying when you're buying an NFT. You're buying the pointer, the token ID, and the records of ownership is on the blockchain. So it is recorded to not an ownership name or a person. Is ownership is to the digital, the MetaMask wallet, or the address wallet, public wallet address that you have. Okay, so this is where it becomes difficult for the average person to get involved, right? It's a higher level than going to just the exchange to trade your cryptocurrencies, right? For this, you need to set up your own own wallets, right? And you can use Ledger, you can use MetaMask. So all these are brand name of the wallets that you're using. But because it's a slightly higher level of expertise required, it's not that difficult, but it's just tedious to get started. The population that is involved, the amount of people that are involved in this space is not a lot compared to the population that's involved in cryptocurrencies, which is by itself not a lot compared to the population that's involved in financial products such as stocks and currencies, right? So the idea is not new. It's existed since 2012. Then when Ethereum blockchain was created in 2014, it became easier to implement. The smart contracts allows various aspects of it to become easier. So the technical aspects is not what we are concerned with. We don't really care how the iPhone works. We just know that it works, and we just want to figure out how to put it to good use, right? So a lot of the people, they get stuck on not understanding what NFTs is. Then they decide, oh, I cannot invest because I don't know how it works. But to be fair, if you ask anybody how is the process of the stock exchange, how does it work, how do you list a stock, how do you get a stock listed, the regulatory procedures to get a stock listed, and then how it appears on the exchange, and then how it's traded, it's most people cannot explain as well, right? It just appears magically on the stock exchange, on the broker platform, and then you trade, and eventually it'll become like this, right? But until then, it is basically, it's like a cottage industry right now. Anybody can create, and that's the nature of the blockchain as well, right? It's a very decentralized type of community and industry. So anybody, if you want to start minting your own, minting is the term that they use for creating the first one, right? When it means it's the first instance of the token coming into existence. So you can also mint your own NFT if you like. Many people have done so, but it's the start of every industry is like this, right? You can create your own NFTs, and because of that, a lot of people can't wrap their head around how it works, so they decide to ignore it altogether. But that's also the same as what cryptocurrencies went through. In 2017, 2018, there was a massive boom in ICOs, token offerings, right? Initial coin offering, they called it. And anybody with a little bit of expertise, they can create their own cryptocurrencies, and there were thousands and thousands of cryptocurrencies being created. Eventually, most of them went to zero because they don't serve any purpose. They have a white paper telling would-be investors what they're going to raise money to do, what is the purpose of the coin. But eventually, none of it was implemented because the founders are very young people. They get a few $1 million and they decided to go party instead of trying to build things, right? So that behavior is, again, we are seeing it in the boom of NFT launches, but it doesn't mean that all NFT launches are going to end up to be zero. It's the same as every cycle that we have. Internet stocks is the same. Eventually, a few great companies emerges. Blockchain coins, cryptocurrencies is the same. Eventually, now Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, all these coins have become household names, right? So people are becoming very familiar with it. So there's many versions of the same thing happening as well, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be an asset class that can be traded in time to come in a more structured manner. So everybody who's heard of NFTs, you heard about CryptoPunks. It's the first 10K collection, PFP collection on the blockchain that has historical value. Utility, it does absolutely nothing. It has no utility whatsoever, and it's worth at the peak, I guess, the floor price. The floor price is the cheapest within the collection you can buy. So it's the cheapest CryptoPunk NFT that you can buy at I think it was above 100 ETH. So at the time, ETH was 4,000 something dollars. So it was like $400,000 plus to buy one CryptoPunk, which does absolutely nothing. It's just a JPEG where you can display. And it doesn't stop me from displaying your JPEG as well. I can just right-click, copy, save, and put it on my profile as well. But it's much the same as if you have a Rolex and then I have a Rolex from Sungai Wang Plaza from Malaysia, right? It's like $20. Yours is thousands of dollars. We could go around pretending that mine is real, but it doesn't change the fact that it isn't. And when the real investors want to buy it, nobody's going to buy mine, no matter how real my copy looks like, right? They're just going to buy the real CryptoPunks. And this CryptoPunks, the only utility it has was as a flex, right? Meaning for people to show off, for the crypto guys to show off to the world that they have so much money that they can spend $400,000 on a JPEG, which they just show on their Twitter profile. Crazy, yes, but there are crazier things that happen all the time throughout history. But anyway, we'll come back to this. They've now been bought up by another company, so the utility may soon come, right? So is this NFTs? They are just pieces of code representing some form of art, some asset that people collect, or a membership to something. And as I said, it is ridiculous to many people. Many people cannot wrap their head around what NFTs is all about. But we have, throughout time, have a tendency to collect things. We've collected stamps, seashells, art pieces, antiques, baseball cards, Pokemon cards. And I don't think collection of NFTs will be any different. It's just a different medium. And with every introduction of a new medium, people get confused as to why would we want to change, right? And if the last few years, for some of you who have been in the track record community in the last for quite some time now, you've seen that we are always looking for opportunities such as this when there's asymmetric outcomes, right? Because whatever you invest in an NFT now, it can go to zero, yes, right? This is 100% loss, right? It sounds horrible to lose something 100%, but it's only horrible if you're looking to make 20%, 30%, or 100%, right? Means it's at best it's a 50-50 proposition. But if you're paying 100% of your capital allocated to this asset class, you're looking to make thousands of percent. And if you lose 100% in the process, it's a sad outcome, but it's not an unexpected outcome. And it's okay, because if you make enough picks, eventually one of them will be correct, and you've heard of many of these NFTs which have gone to insane levels of pricing, right? So if this kind of asymmetric outcomes, they don't come often enough. It's very difficult to find real world assets. I say real world means it's not this is unreal. It's just that it's very hard to find such asymmetric outcomes within in asset classes that are established, right? Everybody, your pension fund has it, your friends have it, your 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 peers, everybody has it. It's very difficult for it to go exponential, right? So I believe that NFTs is an asset class that will continue to grow. The participation will continue to grow. Of course, many NFTs will be rubbish NFTs that goes to zero, but there will be value to be found within this asset class, right? So I'm sure the first person who started collecting baseball cards and treating it as more than a hobby were ridiculed by his friends, right? They say you're an idiot, right? Why would people with millions of dollars want to buy baseball cards? And then comes Pokemon cards, which is even worse. Why would people want to collect cartoon characters, right? They're not even real. And yet these cards, when at mint condition, in good condition, they can sell for a lot of money, right? And this is the case that we are seeing with NFTs as well. And this is also reflective of the world that is to come. Metaverse is going to be a word that you're going to hear a lot of in the years to come. Facebook, formerly known as Facebook, is now Meta. So Mark Zuckerberg, one of the smartest guys around in the big tech, has gone all in on Metaverse, and that's not something to be ignored, right? Nobody goes all in on something that's new unless he's really committed to making it work, right? He could, if you think about it, he could just have renamed one division of Facebook to be Metaverse, right? Instead of changing, he could have renamed Facebook to another name and then make Metaverse a part of a different department instead of taking on the name for the whole company and then going all in this on these initiatives. So NFTs allow for many things that can be useful in the metaverse. Avatars, you can have gameplay to earn games, characters, and there are many utilities, many use cases that is yet to be implemented. Some of the stupid things in history, there are many stupid things that happened in history. Internet was one of them. When it was first introduced, anybody who was trying to do anything on the internet was considered stupid, right? It's like, it's so slow. How can you imagine that it's going to overtake any other medium? Why would you want to be so involved in this dial-up line where some of you too young to remember what a dial-up is how you connect to the internet before there was broadband and Wi-Fi. And it was stupid, right? Everybody thinks it's stupid. Investing in internet stocks was stupid. Anybody who wanted to sell things online was also considered stupid because it's so slow. Who want to go shopping? Everybody wants to go to the shop to feel and touch the thing. How can you sell clothes online? You cannot even try the sizes on. It's an absolute stupid idea. Why would you buy groceries online? Because you want to go to the markets, you want to go to supermarkets, it's so convenient, and then you can see what you're buying. Online is just a picture. You don't even know is this fresh, right? It was extremely stupid to imagine that you can build an online business selling things, especially shoes. Who would want to buy shoes online? You cannot even try it. You don't know if it's comfortable or not. This was all not so long ago. And then social media was also stupid, and to some people still is very stupid. But now every major company, so in fact, there's no company that has no social media if they want to connect with their consumers, right? But in early 2000s, it's not so long ago. It's mid 2000s, it's not so long ago. It's just a stupid thing for young people to connect with their friends, meaning to share what they're eating, what they're doing, and who wants to know all these things, right? It's just too much information. And then Bitcoin and cryptos came along, and even as late as 2020, it was still stupid, right? Even now today, you still see a lot of those traditional guys claiming that it's stupid, right? JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon calls it as fraud, as stupidity. He will sack any JP Morgan traders who trades cryptos, and then not so long ago they are hiring crypto traders. They are coming out with crypto reports. They're coming out with recommendations of where Bitcoin will go. But they were stupid before, right? It's all stupid. According to this guy, they're all stupid. And now, strangely enough, all these same guys are calling NFTs stupid, right? Because they're stupid, right? Why would you want to collect cartoon JPEGs? It has absolutely no value. Only idiots will be involved with it. The same idiots who were involved with Bitcoin, cryptos, social media, internet shopping, now also the idiots who are involved in NFTs, right? So who knows, maybe finally the critics will be right. These guys will turn out to be really stupid after all. But in fact, I would think that if you make you try to find throughout history, of course, there are many things which have been deemed stupid, turned out to be very stupid, right? So sometimes critics are right, but some stupid things turn out to be not that stupid because it's just that it is new and nobody understood it before, and nobody is taking the time to understand it, and because it is in the company of many scams and frauds, right? So Bitcoin was grouped together with many other thousands of cryptocurrencies which they think is the same as Bitcoin, right? For all intents and purposes, you yourself could create a Bitcoin now, but it is not the same as Bitcoin because Bitcoin has already the network effects of being the first and being the most used, right? So it has no, in a world without Bitcoin, there's really no need for Bitcoin. But in the world post Bitcoin, it is now useful to have Bitcoin, right? So people who claims that Bitcoin was stupid now decides that, oh, maybe we should price oil in Bitcoin because we don't want to be subjected to sanctions by the US. Maybe we should keep some of our wealth in Bitcoin just in case there are times when our countries. So a clear case is Russia, right? It doesn't matter if you agree with your politicians or not. If they decide to do something that is not in agreement with the countries that are running the financial system, then suddenly you find yourself outside of the financial system. It's not just countries that are considered the bad guys, right? So even in Canada, you had protesters or friends of protesters, suspected protesters having their money kept from them. They are frozen out of the financial system, right? So they cannot use credit cards, they cannot access their bank savings. So there is a use case that is not thought of until you need it, right? And once you see it being used, then it becomes entrenched, right? Now it becomes acceptable, right? Previously, I'm sure some of you have this experience as well. A few years ago, if you talk about Bitcoin, or maybe you're one of those who says that it's stupid, and maybe when you hear someone talk about Bitcoin, you think the guy is an idiot who doesn't understand the world, and then suddenly now it is not. You are considered uninformed if you don't know what Bitcoin is, right? If you don't know that there is potential for Bitcoin to take over a large part of the savings pool in this world, not large part, a significant part, right? So the argument that NFTs are stupid, it does not hold water unless there is a clear case of why it is, right? There are most people who says that it is, they just don't understand why it isn't. So there are many stupid NFTs, yes, for sure. There are many stupid ones, but some are not really that stupid. And you can make a lot of money being one of those that recognize this. So what type of NFTs are there? There are many types of NFTs, and even now we are discovering new ones. And some of them is quite funny, some joke NFTs. So if you saw yesterday, and it's amazing how fast these things comes to comes to fruition, it comes to be gets created. If you saw, it was just yesterday, Will Smith became a meme sensation overnight because he slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars, right? He smacked Chris Rock, and then I think hours later there was a NFTs showing pictures of all the slaps that Will Smith has dished out through the years to the reporter that tried to kiss him, and various instances as well. I think it's called Will Smith Dow or whatever. So those are by definition useless NFTs, right? It's just a meme, but still people trade it, right? So yes, we do have crazy instances of this happening, but that's the case with many things in the crypto space, because it's so easy to implement the technology, implement a new coin, to introduce a new coin, a new NFT, if you have the technical know-how. So for instance, if Elon Musk tweets anything remotely, there's a funny word in there, there'll be instantly, there's going to be a cryptocurrency that's launched in that name, with the hope, with people hoping that all the other guys, all the people out there who don't know so much about the industry will just buy it. Like everybody buys $100 of it, then it goes up, right? So we have that kind of things. NFT digital art right now is what most people are familiar with, right? They are JPEG files, and they have NFTs now with clips, snippets of music. So people are selling their music as well. So there is now those high-end collectibles, limited edition fashion pieces that have an NFT counterpart, which proves the provenance that you own this thing. So, for example, Adidas Adidas launched an NFT last year, and it's now trading around 1.5 ETH, I believe. So that's like $4,500 to $5,000, and depending on where the ETH price is. And they will issue, the NFT entitles you to some merchandise that's going to be released. I believe it's next month. So I think it's some tracksuits, some hoodies. So it's limited edition, and that's expensive, right? That's $4,500 worth of tracksuit, but they say there's going to be more utility to come. So this is what the fashion companies are doing. They're using this NFT as a membership token to prove that you are part of the community, so you can get a limited edition releases of their merchandise, or you can participate in the other NFT drops. Okay, so there's many things. For example, even a domain on the blockchain, like a wallet address. So you can have a wallet address, right? So a .eth instead of and by a .eth is not just a website domain. These are web addresses where you can actually send cryptocurrencies to. You can send NFTs to. Those are also NFTs now, and some of these .eth domains have sold for a lot of money, like beer.eth, I'm sure gambling.eth, all those cool names, useful names, right, are getting bought up for a lot of money now. And it's very similar to at the start of the internet, where .com were being bought, right? If you buy all the established companies, internet domains, you can sell it to them at a higher price at some point, because they cannot be bothered to fight you for it. They just pay you out, right? So there are many types, but these are just the types that we just name a few. Jack Dorsey even did an NFT of his first tweet when he started the first tweet he tweeted on, which is essentially the first tweet ever on Twitter, right? He NFT it, right, and he made it into an NFT. There are game items, which is a huge industry where previously people play games and then they collect weapons and they sell it within the weapons, and it's very subject to rules of the games. But now they're creating NFT items within games where you can buy freely trade outside the game as well. And there are many more game items. There are tweets. Um, there are even people selling just pictures of themselves and make millions of money doing it for absolutely no utility whatsoever, but just to support. And lots of charities are now using uh, um, NFTs and cryptos to raise money as well, right, for charitable causes. So what's the point? It's a digital tokens is a collection. Yes, still sounds ridiculous, but uh, part of the attraction for the crypto community is that it allows them to flaunt their wealth in a way, right? So maybe you're thinking you're above that, you don't understand why people want to flaunt, then just take a look outside, especially people in Singapore. You take a look outside, you see people driving extremely expensive cars when all they can do is like 50 miles an hour. And really, there's really no need for cars in Singapore when you have Grab, you have the equivalent of Uber, right? So, and yet, right, people will pay hundreds and thousands of dollars above what they can get for a means of transport, right? And they buy watches that does nothing beyond telling time. And some of these watch collectors will tell you, oh, because it is very accurate, but none of their watches is more accurate than my Google time, right? My watch is my phone, and yet they do, right? They'll pay a few $100,000 for a brand name watch, right? And they'll show their friends, they'll wear it around. And this is the way the developed world, it's not just developed world, it's the way the world is. People like those who have it like to flaunt it and show those who do not, that they can the lifestyle that they can aspire to at some point in their life, right? So that's it, right? You have handbags that does nothing more than being a handbag, and it's worth hundred thousands of dollars. In my mind, it's always better to have the hundreds and thousands of dollars in a less expensive bag, and it has more utility. But that is clearly very different from how many women view the world. And to argue with them, to argue with the established norm of collecting expensive things to show other people is counterproductive, right? Because it doesn't change. It's just the way that maybe at some point it changes, but it doesn't really change, right? As far as I can tell. And this is just a new means for crypto savvy people to flex, to show off their wealth, right? And Instagram is starting to integrate, is looking to integrate verified NFTs on their page, right? So if you can imagine how many people will want to start to show off what kind of NFT they have, right? And the market value is likely to explode in the months and years ahead. So it makes it easier for them to do so, because now it's verifiable. You can take pictures of of course you can take pictures of your handbag and show off, but who knows if it's just a picture of a handbag, right? But NFTs, when they are integrated fully into the platform, it has a verification check, right? Because it is on the blockchain. You have to connect your wallet to the wallet which owns the NFT to the platform to verify that you have it, right? And then they'll give you the verification. So this is just one of the many reasons why I think it's going to explode. And reasons for artists. One other reason for artists to want to have NFT is that when for creators, actually for producers of creative content, right, is that when they create art in the in the world before blockchain, before this came along, there was no way for them to profit from previous work, right? If you created a piece of art, right, and you sold it for $1,000, and if a year from now, 10 years from now, it starts to trade for $25 million, that is great for you, but not really great if you stop creating and you cannot replicate your work after that, right? Or maybe worse for your estate, you've passed away, and then if you have no new creation, no uh, pieces that was unsold, your estate doesn't profit from it anymore. But for NFTs, it's within the smart contract. They can program within the smart contract for transactions on platforms. So it has to be official platforms where they facilitate this sales. You can get a cut of the sales, right? You can get, it's between 2.5 to 10% of royalties forever, for every trade, ever and ever, right? And this is how many communities that many brand names that, for example, the BAYC, they make a lot of money from this secondary trading. That's why they can use the money to invest, to build the community, to do marketing, right? So when this NFTs trade, the smart contract transfers a portion of the sale to the artists as royalties. The platform gets a cut of the fees. So everybody gets paid. Everybody likes to facilitate this trading, right? So this is the reason why I believe many companies will start to understand that this is a huge source of revenue for them. For example, if any of you has ever been to a concert or a sporting event, sometimes you would have paid beyond list price, right? So the companies that are doing the concerts or doing the sporting event, they may have sold the face value of the ticket at $100, but five transactions later it's at $1,000, right? And they don't get any part of that anymore, right? Because they've already sold at $100, and then all the scalpers, the ticket touts, they've pushed up the price to $1,000, and who benefits is the people in the secondary market that bought it cheap. Whereas with an NFT ticket, if they decide to implement, and I think eventually they will, as long as the people get the ID, i.e. the audience get more comfortable with with interacting with NFTs. Concert tickets, sporting event tickets, they will eventually be sold as NFTs, because every eventual sale, they will get a cut of the revenue. And not just that, you can always prove the authenticity of the NFT, right? You can know from you can track where it came from, right? It came from issued by the firm that is the company, right? So it's like there's a lot of fake tickets in this world, right? It's printed by some random dude with a high grade printer. You cannot trace it, right? You buy it, you get turned up at the stadium, you cannot get in, right? But for NFTs, you can trace it to the point where it's created, and oh yes, it is created by the official company, official issuer of the tickets, then it's authentic. So NFTs allow provenance to be proved, allow authenticity to be proved, and it allows the issuer to participate in secondary markets. So it has something for everybody, right? So for the consumer, it's great. I know that I'm not buying a fake ticket. For the issuer, he knows that it doesn't matter if he's selling the tickets too cheap at the beginning. Eventually, he still gets a cut of the sales. For everybody involved, there's a benefit, right? And there, for artists, especially for them, they can connect with the holders of the NFTs in ways that we have yet to be able to imagine, right? So there is a copy and paste problem, because if you have an NFT, you display it on your social media profile. I can easily right click and save it and pretend that I own it, right? But that's the case with many things in this world. You can also hire some painter, some artist in China to replicate the sunflowers, Mona Lisa. But so what, right? You can put it in your living room and admire it yourself, but it's not going to be worth $500 million or $300 million or whatever the case a Mona Lisa is if it decides to come to sale. So it is important that we understand it is the provenance, the originality, the history behind the creation of it, and the blockchain allows it to be to be immutable, right? It cannot be changed, right? That this is the original and this belongs to you. You can prove it. I cannot prove that I own it because you have the NFT, right? Okay, so where do they exist? They're on the blockchain, yes, but also not on the blockchain for some versions. As I said earlier, right, there are on-chain is the pointer, the token ID is embedded in the contract. It says, okay, this token ID belongs to this, is now residing in this wallet, right? So that's where it is. And then when you go to the ID, the token ID, it points to where the metadata is, meaning the picture or the sound or both picture and sound of the NFT, right? So that's called the metadata. So the metadata can be stored both on-chain or off-chain, right? Meaning it can be on the blockchain, which is it makes it immutable, right? But it's very cost intensive and it takes a long time to upload this data, and to read it off also it's going to be slower. So some people just have the pointer on chain, and then the metadata is stored in the cloud server somewhere, or is on their own different day server, right? So on chains, the benefit is that it's immutable. It's there with the token. You're never going to lose it. Nobody can change it. The developers cannot change it, cannot upgrade it even if they want to. Right? It's there. So for example, these are one of the examples of the historical NFT that uses this standard. But the drawbacks is that, as I said, it's intensive. If you want to interact with it, it takes expensive transaction fees. But the blockchain, the ETH blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain is not designed for big amount of storage of data, so it's not that great, right? So their work around it is that they put only the pointer on chain, and then they put the rest of the metadata on another storage elsewhere, not on the blockchain. But that means that if that data server fails, then your pointer can be pointing to nothing, right? So that's the danger that you need to understand, right? That could be the danger. And because that data server is off chain, it can be changed, meaning the creators who have access to it, they can change the picture, or they can change how the thing looks. That I'm sure troubles a lot of people, but that's just the state of the world, right? Currently, that's how it is, and that's why some of these NFTs that you buy may not even be around, because the founders decide, now that I have a few $1,000,000, I'm just not going to work at building out the project, because launching a project is easy. Like building out a project is very difficult, right? Because now you have people to answer to, and then generally most people are not happy most of the time, so they find some reasons to scold the founders for going too slow, doing too few things to increase the prices. So many founders disappear and neglect the project. So that's a problem that we have. But of course, you can have cache data from after they've downloaded, but and so the value resides not of the NFT. Is not what you're seeing, but it is what is on the blockchain, the pointer, right? So that of course confuses a lot of people, makes it very difficult for them to wrap around. Why am I buying? So I'm paying so much money to just have a few bits of data to point at something. But it's how it is, right? So there are many hosting methods where they store the metadata that's off-chain. One very more well-known is the interplanetary file system. Sounds cool. Many NFTs uses this. And we don't need to know the details. There's a lot of details of it, but just know that conceptually it is off-chain. And the value of an NFT could be because it has utility. It is a game token. It is used to play games. It is a character within the game. It has different capabilities. So different capabilities, type of characters have different value because it depends on the powers that they have within the game. For non-gamers, you won't understand this, but there are many people who will pay a lot of money for a strong game character, or even weapons and even clothes. They love to dress up their avatars, but this is the way the world is. And historic value. So CryptoPunks, if you've seen a CryptoPunk, it's very pixelated. It's a pixelated art, nothing special. And 1 year ago, it was only, I believe it was only $20,000, a few ETH at the time, few $1,000, $20,000. And now I believe, last I checked, it's like 80 ETH. So that's close to $300,000. That's not bad, right? I think it's not bad to have an investment that goes up more than 10x in a year. But that's only if you catch it late in the game. If you catch it early in the game, you have gone up 1,000 times, right? So art, we have art NFTs. For example, Beeple sold his Everyday's NFT at an auction house for $69 million. Don't ask me why it's $69 million, but it was sold for $69 million. It's exorbitant amount of money. And the more famous ones, the one that many people are familiar with, is a PFP project, meaning profile pictures. They're just cartoon characters, and that's why it's very difficult for many people to understand why am I paying for a cartoon character for like $1,000 or $3,000, or in the case of Bored Apes, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? But it's because of the community that comes with it, or at least the hope of the community that comes with it, right? So if you own a Bored Ape now, it's like a badge of honor, right? If you decide today you're going to buy a Bored Ape, or even if you're brave enough, you can go track down a Bored Ape that's not been used, like it's not active, nobody, because there must be some that are lost to history, right? In forgotten wallets. You can put it on your Twitter profile and then pretend to be an NFT expert, and you'll get thousands of followers instantly, because for some reason it's a badge of honor, right? If you have a Bored Ape, that means you're successful enough to now give me advice about NFTs because you own one of the brand name NFTs, right? But this is how it is. And for art, I think it's one of my primary focus points in my my dive into the NFT world, right? So the NFT world is again another rabbit hole, right? It's just so much to try to wrap your head around. And so the difference for me in the art NFT is that I think at every point in time when artists change their medium, they get criticized by the status quo, right? They get criticized by people who are used to the previous medium. So a very a recent case would be like years ago when the photographers decide to take pictures and sell their pictures, and to take photos of their subject matter, whatever, and then try to sell photos. And then the first people who collect these photos, I'm sure they got a lot of criticism from the other people and other artists who say, what is this nonsense, right? There's no skill in snapping a picture, right? Whereas the artists of the past, they took their time to study the subject matter, and then they put it to use paint or pencil or whatever to put it to a form that that people can appreciate, right? So it takes time. So how can you compare that with the guy who snaps a picture in an instant, right? How is that art? right? Of course, I'm sure they had a lot of arguments along the way, and somebody who paid $1,000 for a photograph was considered an idiot, right? You could easily buy a camera and just take the same picture yourself, right? It's not that difficult to take picture of somebody else, especially portraits, right? Why do you need to pay so much for that guy? And of course, years have passed, and now it's acceptable. Everybody thinks, oh, you see a photograph in the museum, it's like, wow, this is a. I don't understand what is so important about this, but I know it's worth a lot of money, right? And I think some years from now, maybe it's not even years from now. In fact, we're seeing it right now, right? We have people doing his everydays and getting $69 million for it. An artist that's a photographer that's doing NFT art. He probably, some of his pieces were sold for less than 1 ETH last year, and this year, in fact, there's one called the Twin Flames. Yesterday, it traded at 110 ETH. 110 ETH is at current markets is around in excess of $300,000, right? So it's like almost 400,000 US dollars, right? And it's a year ago, it's probably less than an ETH. That is a very, very asymmetric outcome, right? And I think it is amazing because you get to interact with the artist, right? So and I think as I get to know and I get to study more of this NFT space, I'll probably have to do another talk where I talk about just about art NFT, the engagement that you can have with the people in the space is amazing, right? Because I was bidding on one of the art pieces just because I wanted to try and see what I was doing. And while I was bidding on the art, they were conducting an auction. I was bidding on an art piece because no, it's not $69 million. I don't have that kind of money to blow on this, right? So it was thousands of dollars. Yes, I was bidding in ETH, right? And the artist himself, and he messaged me on direct message on Twitter. He's like, hey, thanks for your support. I was like, hey, this guy is the real deal. He's a famous guy, right? He's not like an emergent artist. He's one of the most, in fact, his collection is one of the most expensive right now, right, for art NFTs. In fact, it's probably more expensive than, 110 is his floor price is more expensive than Bored Apes. So he messaged me saying thank you. I was surprised. I said, are you the artist or you his social media team, right? I'm not so delusional to think that he's so free to message me. And he says, no, I don't use a social media team, especially for things like this. I just want to say thank you for your. And in fact, it's true, right? I see him interacting with his fans in his Discord channel. So if you start to imagine this, right? This is like an exclusive club of collectors, right? If you start to collect their art at a very early stage, you get to interact with them, be part of their journey. You get to understand why they're creating this art, and it brings new meaning. It's very different when you're looking at art. When you just go to the museum, you have no clue what's the context, what's the historical context, and why the artist is doing this. But if you actually listen to the tour guide, or you put on the automated tour guide, and you get the story behind, and the historical significance of that art piece, then you start to understand the context as to why it's worth this amount of money, why it's valued now, right? And primarily in the art space, of course, many experts will come and dispute with me, telling me that I'm wrong, I'm an idiot. But I think art is very, very subjective, right? And one of the ways it either has historical significance, that's why it's valuable. Of course, it needs to be scarce, and it needs to be have strong marketing in that the story must be compelling, or the marketing team behind it has to be very strong. And this is what's happening in the NFT space right now, right? Because they are the successful artists are the ones that are very adept at interacting with their fans, at interacting with their audience, and then sharing the stories as to why they're creating the art this way. So I think there's many different there's various aspects of an NFT that gives it value. right? It's either historic value, it's art, or utility, right? So game utility or utility, as I said. Imagine if Beyonce decides to issue an NFT, and then for the NFT, you are able to, if you are owner of the NFT, you are able to get her tour concerts at a discounted price, or you don't even need discounted price, right? Like most of these fans are rabid, right? They just want to be able to get the ticket price. So you get priority pricing, priority window to buy.
Okay, you've given us a good idea. Lee, come on, son.
Sorry, who's that? Who says what? I think somebody unmuted. Anyway, so, and imagine they comes along with backstage passes and a communication, a call with the artist, right? So that can be really, really huge, right? So if you start to imagine the possibilities, right? There's for some of you who are familiar with social media, there's this guy who is basically the king of branding and marketing. His name is Gary Vee. He created an NFT that is for a restaurant in New York City, which has yet to be built. He raised the money through the NFT to build the restaurants. And the NFT allows you not to eat for free at a restaurant. You don't get to eat for free. You get to just eat and pay at a restaurant. And yet, it's sold out, right? And it's sold two tiers of the NFT. One is the higher tier, which allows you to eat a higher in the VIP room, and then which allows you to bring your guests to the VIP room, and the normal tier, which allows you to just enter the restaurant and eat outside of the VIP rooms, right? So you don't get an omakase dinner. And yet it's sold out, right? And it's sold out for quite a lot of money. I think it's thousands of dollars. I cannot remember what's the offhand, how much the price is now. It's probably 3-4 ETH or something like that, which is amazing, right? So if you have the clout, you have the followers, you have the influence, now you can create a mechanism to raise money to implement your plans, right? And what it allows the NFT holders is that it is like a membership, right? It is a membership, right? Where you're now part of an exclusive group that is allowed to go eat at that place, and you're going to meet people with similar interests, or at least enough money to blow on something like this, right? So you think, oh yeah, that's a great networking opportunity. It's a flex, right? You can bring your friends and show them what it is inside the first NFT restaurant in the world. But there are many use cases yet to be implemented, and every day we are coming out with new ones. Not we are coming out, they are coming out with new ones. Okay. So Web3 communities, right? So this is something I think maybe some of you have noticed that we are talking a lot more about you probably read a lot of this now, more of this now than before in media, social media, and we will talk more about this in time to come as well. So communities, why are communities important, right? Of course, we are social creatures, right? Of course, there are some of us among us who prefers to be left alone, prefers to be shut out from the rest of the world, but that is not the case with our species. Our species are social creatures. We like to belong to something. We like to be, and it's not something that is going to change anytime soon. People tend to want a part of something exclusive. That's why we have country club memberships, we have expensive club memberships, we have private clubs, expensive restaurants, all these kind of things, basically to exclude people that we think are different from us, right? And there are fraternities, there are special interest groups. If you collect the Harley Davidson, or you have a Harley Davidson, you have a BMW, you have a Porsche, you have a Lamborghini, you have all these clubs, right? So, but all those are like, they have to interact physically, and now the online communities are starting to become prominent, right? Become like they now have a way to exclude other people that are not part of the creed, right? Like, so the Bored Apes, if you don't have a Bored Ape, you can hang out with them, but you're not one of them, right? You can go in the Discord channel, you can be one of them, but you cannot display the Bored Ape as your avatar, and you don't get the same it's, for lack of a better word, it is the respect that they get among the community members, right? If you start to immerse yourself in the NFT space, if you have a Bored Ape, you use it as an avatar, you enter a Discord channel as a stranger, you just go in, you find that a lot of people will talk to you, right? Your view suddenly is important, people listen to you, you feel important, like for no reason, for no reason other than you had enough money to buy the Bored Apes PFP, right? NFT. So every NFT project, they always tell you, oh, we're trying to build a community, right? Because it is where the value comes from for these profile pictures, because they're trying to create an exclusive club, right? We want an exclusive club community. It's either they promise you that being part of this club will help you make money, will help you get access to other projects that are good projects, or we'll tell you about cryptos. We provide the alpha, they call it alpha, which is basically trading advice, right? Or it allows them to, they use the community to hype the project, and then to ensure that there is demand for the project, and being part of the community, they also assign different tiering, right? If you have maybe some of them, they have like it's open to all to join, but then if you have an NFT that says you belong to the project, you have an NFT from the project, then you get a role that says, okay, you are one of the owners. Or if you have a few, then you get a higher tiering of ownership, right? You get a higher role. So it gives you different access to different benefits. So for example, some of them, they will give you access to real life events, or they will give you access to buy other projects at a discount, right? Other NFT projects. So it's not defined exactly what benefits you get, but you just part of the community, and as it grows and it becomes important, so you can see that it's symbiotic, right? If you contribute actively to it, so for example, if enough people who knows about cryptocurrencies, they give enough information to the community starts to make money from this information, then more people will want to come join this community. And then by that reason, holders of the NFT will be able to sell their NFT for higher price, right? And because now the community has clout, right? Because now they have higher price, they have more trading going on. The money from the royalties from the trading goes to the project wallet, and the project is able to market themselves, get collaborations. For example, like Bored Apes, they became so successful, they could partner with Adidas. They could hire the brand marketing manager from Hollywood to market their brands. They could get Jimmy Fallon, they get Paris Hilton, they got Madonna to buy the Bored Apes. They get Stephen Curry to buy the Bored Apes, and then it starts to grow, right? It starts to snowball. More celebrities come into the project, comes into the community. More people want to be part of the community. More people contribute to the community. There's more value shared among the community. The price of the project goes up. The project NFTs goes up. It's a virtuous cycle that goes on and on. And this is where the value comes from for most of these profile picture projects, right? The JPEG, right? People don't understand. You are not actually paying for the picture of the ape. You are paying to be part of the community, to part of the access, right? So, for example, if you have a Bored Ape or a derivative of the Bored Ape from within the project, which is the mutant ape, almost every new launch of NFTs, they will give you a chance to be on their pre-sale, right? So you can buy ahead of the public, right? You don't have to rush to buy. And imagine the access, it's worth a lot of money, right? So you're not compelled to buy, but you have the option to buy, right? So you get access to every other projects. So that is one of the things that really drives the value of this community, right? So you share common interests among them, but you have consumers that are engaged in one place. So now brands will want to market to this community of Bored Apes, right? Because they know all the people who own Bored Apes are above a certain amount of threshold in financial spending power, right? I mean, if the guy can blow $300,000-400,000 at the minimum on a JPEG project, on a JPEG on a PFP, how much money does he actually have, right? He must have millions of dollars. So that community itself is valuable, right? So many brands will want to have access to this community, right? So it is a virtuous cycle that continues to allow for the community members to benefit from the growth of the community, right? So as I said, it's just a repetition of what, right? When you add value, the community grows up in value, then it increases the value of the things that you hold, and you get rewarded as well. You become more interested in sharing, and many Bored Apes holders say they're okay with paying the price of $300,000-400,000 because the opportunities of being involved in the first place is worth more than that. And true enough, it has come to pass. It is that what's been happening, right? They even recently they received an airdrop. The holder of the NFT received an airdrop of ApeCoin as the biggest launch of a cryptocurrency token in years now, most hype. And a holder of the Bored Ape they got 10,000 coins, and the coin currently trades, I think today it trades at $14, right? So that's $140,000 if you have not sold, right? On the day of the launch, it went from I believe was like $6-7 up to $40. So depending on where you sell it, you could have sold it at $400,000 or $70,000. But that's not bad, right? For just the day before you had no tokens, the next day you have tokens. That's a lot of money to be had. So that's why these communities are valuable, because they allow for this virtuous cycle to happen, right? So what every community that is a PFP project, they say, okay, it's art, but it's cartoon, right? It's not really art, right? I mean, okay, if it's art after the fact, then it's expensive, then it's art, but before that, it's just cartoon characters, right? Why they always stress that we're trying to build a community. But if you say, okay, today, let's get 10,000 of us like-minded people with a certain amount of money, so that we are consumers that are interesting to brands, right? Generally, 10,000 poor people congregated together is of no interest to the brands, right? They don't care, right? Except unless you're protesting something. But if you have 10,000 people with above a certain level of spending power congregating together and then saying, okay, we are going to make decisions as one, it becomes interesting, right? If you can pull this off, you can get 10,000 people to buy toilet paper at a regular time. You get very cheap discounts, right? Like, you can do it, right? So there are businesses building around things like that, right? If you have 10,000 people decide, okay, we're going to buy one fish every week from this company, you get a fish for very cheap, right? So that's just a simplistic way of thinking it, but that's where the value of community comes in. So every project that's trying to build a PFP project, they're trying to build a community that is equivalent to what they've seen happen for Bored Apes, right? So talking about Bored Apes, right? So some of you maybe have no clue what I was talking about. Bored Ape, maybe you didn't read the headlines. So Bored Ape is just the name of the NFT. It's called Bored Ape Yacht Club. So why it was just a normal profile picture project, right? But it has an interesting twist, that every owner of the NFT owns the intellectual property rights to their NFT, so they can use their ape, which is 10,000 different ones, They can use it as they can use it to do anything. They can use it to create their own brands, create their own merchandise. Some people have used their Bored Apes to license their apes to be band members in a metaverse band, right? Making songs. So because of that, it allows for people to come up with very, very creative ideas on how to market their apes and how to create partnerships. And because of that, the community thrive, right? And then so there's a famous NFT trader, influencer. He bought a lot of it. He talked about it, and then the value started to rise. His followers started to buy in, and then what happened was what we have is it was launched, I believe, April last year, and within a year, now it's a trading volume of millions of dollars. The labs, the Yuga Labs, the owners of this NFT community, they launched this community. They recently raised $450 million on a valuation of $4 billion. That's a lot of money for a company just created in 1 year, right? And it was launched at 0.08 ETH. At the time, it's probably less than $30, $40, I believe, right? Yeah, less than $30, $40. And now it's worth a few $100,000. Right? So this is the asymmetry I'm talking about, right? Maybe we are too late to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars from less than $100, but there's still some asymmetry to be had if we figure out the trajectory of some of these projects. Okay, and when it was launched, it took some time to sell out, but as days pass, as years pass, and within months, they have different types of pictures, right? So the gold one is considered rare, and the rarity is expensive, and so it's difficult to explain why is rarity a big deal, right? Because the benefits are all the same, but somehow people will pay for the rarity because they can, right? It's sold for $2.25 million, which is almost 10 times, right? At the time, probably almost 10 times of what the cheapest Bored Ape is. And it confers no special utility, right? You still get to be part of the members, just like the guy with the cheap NFT, the cheaper one. You still have all the benefits. You have the same amount of airdrops eventually. So why would people pay more? It's just that case, right? Because they can, right? It's just a flexing right. So now the project has a floor price above 100 ETH, which is above, which is close to $350,000, right? So that's a lot of money, right? From something that's launched at less than $30, $40. So the value of these communities, yes, is because of the utility, but the utility is because of the community. So it's, as I said, it's a virtuous cycle, right? Because their community has become very prominent. So a lot of projects that are launched, they want to be part of this community. They want to have Bored Apes as part of their holders. So they confer the rights for these people to come in at pre-sale. So it's a bragging right to say, oh, my project has 100 Bored Apes involved. They are in my Discord. They're talking to my people. They're talking to our community. So people want to have to be involved with them. People want to be part of their part of their, now I would say, part of their orbit, right? They want to be involved in the ape metaverse, right? And this is what they're creating. They're creating a metaverse that I believe will be one of the more important metaverses that we will see. One of the important worlds in the metaverse that we'll see. So the latest to join is latest to buy is Madonna, right? She just bought one a few days ago, I believe. We have, if any of the celebrities, if you see they are involved in NFTs, it's very likely that they will have one, just because it confers them some sort of bragging rights. It's just the way that it is. present in the exclusive part. So we now, so I'm telling you all this because from the very beginning, we called the track